Hello everyone, MFPallytime here. Welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. It is a wine night tonight, boys. I'm breaking my rule. I'm working after 8 o'clock. I don't think this one counts as a I drank and played Deckard video, but it's going to be soon if it keeps going at this rate. I wanted to talk about Deckard Cain again today. Super interesting character, but I do genuinely feel like he's one of those characters that is punished more so than any other support if your team isn't aware of their surroundings or don't have a good understanding of basic game mechanics. And I say this for two reasons, right? In the games where I have a terrible time with Deckard Cain, it's usually in games where my team chooses to brawl in lanes for no particular reason and doesn't do the fundamentals of the game, which is soaking XP. So this forces me to be the player who bites the bullet, goes up to the top lane, and goes versus their solo lane character. Now, Deckard Cain, not a very offensive character, especially in the early game. There are some talents you can pick up to kind of make that a little bit less true. You know, he can hit kind of hard later on in the right circumstances. But best case scenario with the solo lane Deckard is you're just waiting for the minions to come into your tower, and then once they do, you stand there and watch the enemy minions die, because you can't really clear lanes. You definitely can't fight another hero. You can sustain through anything another hero does, but you can't really fight back. And the other problem with being in the solo lane trying to get XP when your team decides not to is the fortitude of the faithful. Deckard Cain is an extrovert. He needs someone with him all the time. If you have an ally nearby, you gain 10 armor. That's 10% damage mitigation, and your ability cooldowns are cut in half, so you can do a lot more. You can do a lot more healing. You can do a lot more crowd control. It's really important for his kit. Deckard Cain is not a fighter. He's a helper. And if your team is not there to help you, or you're not there to help them, then it kind of puts a break on things, it puts a jam in the cogwheel. You know what I'm saying? So I genuinely do feel like your experience with Deckard Cain is going to be drastically different from match to match. That's what I've experienced anyway. We did play him for a few hours on stream the other day. He's level 6 right now, which I'm sure you can look at this bottom line of heroes and understand that that's a lot of time for me to commit to a brand new hero in his first weeks of being in the game. It usually takes me a little while to acclimate. But I do have some tips that can help you out, maybe guide you in the right direction, because I have a better understanding of the character than I did in our theory crafting video and in that first video that released on the channel. And it might be helpful for you if you're looking to play the character. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Haunted Mines today. Isn't this what we played last time on Deckard? The friendly team, Deckard Cain, Ghoulish Daniel, Lee Ming, Phoenix, and Valera. The enemy team, Chromie, Karazim, Murky, Kel'Thuzad, and Nova. Good luck, have fun. Who should be our top lane? Ooh, I guess it's going to be Phoenix. At level 1, I have 2 recommendations for you if you're looking to get into the character. Scroll of Identify is my go-to because it gives you and your team more damage, right? Seems really good. I like Scroll of Identify. Once you stack up this quest, it's going to be lowering the armor of everyone inside of your E ability by 15%. That means they take 15% more damage from everything every time you land your E ability. And if you have an ally nearby, you could be casting this relatively often. So, in situations like that, the Karazim that we rooted would take 15% more damage. Seems like a win-win to me. Then we have the Sapphire, which is an ability that can help you by infusing a gem into the Herodric Cube, which is your W ability, and making it just a little bit easier to land your E on enemy combatants. So really, in the grand scheme of things, both abilities both talents are focused around your E ability in one way or the other. At least that's the way I kind of look at it. I am gonna have to lay down some more potions for these guys. I probably could have saved Ghoulish Daniel there, you know, full disclosure, probably could have. Your Q ability does have 5 charges. It's your healing potion. Throw it out, people get healed, right? It's for 250 at level 2, and it scales up pretty well. Scales up pretty nicely. We're going to throw out our Haradra Cube and try to land the roots on these guys as well. Looks like we're going to land it on 2 members of the enemy team. You'll notice in lane that if we do have an ally next to us, we are able to throw out quite a few potions. The cooldown reduction we get from our trait means that we can kind of litter the ground in situations like this with healing that our allies may need. The issue with that is we do not have the mana regen capable of sustaining that kind of onslaught of healing on the ground. So you are going to need to use your sippy cup just to fund your healing in lane. Which in the grand scheme of things, recently anyway, in hero design is kind of unheard of. I can't think of another healer that can go out of mana just healing other than maybe Uther? But, you know, I may be wrong there. Oh, did it land? No, it didn't. So we're at 3 stacks out of 20 on our really, really important quest on our E ability. That's going to help out our team quite a bit if we're able to stack that up. A pretty cool situation with Deckard Cain is even though I'm out of mana, I can leave the lane right now, and my allies still gain a pretty sizable benefit, even though I'm not there, because they are able to pick up those potions that I left on the ground. At level 4, now, in my initial impressions of Deckard Cain, I really thought that Ruby was gonna be next level. I thought that Ruby was gonna be the holy grail of Deckard Cain players, and that if you weren't picking Ruby, you were probably doing something wrong. After continuing to play the hero, I could say that I was wrong. Ruby in practice over the last couple of days has left me very frustrated at times. What Ruby does is you infuse the Ruby into your Haradra Cube, and with that Ruby inside of the cube, you enable your teammates to engage harder because you can put the Ruby in the cube. When they jump in, you use your Haradra Cube on the target that they're fighting, and then all of a sudden, you know, you have this massive amount of healing at their feet because it spawns these lesser health potions while they're attacking enemies. If you're able to hit multiple enemies with your W ability. Oh, he doesn't have his egg. Let's just go auto attack him. In reality, what I found happening with Ruby is that my allies, by the time I was able to get those little mini healing potions out there, right? By the time I got the healing potions out there, my allies had pretty much already decided whether or not they were going to die and run away from that fight because they didn't have enough healing, or they have already decided whether or not they're going to go in hard for the kill. And in both cases of that, it left them sitting far away from these health potions that I was trying to spawn to help them be successful. And both cases were frustrating, and we kept track in one match. I mean, I was streaming all of my games trying to learn Deckard Cain on Twitch, and we kept track one match, and we had something like maybe one person out of every 10 times I used Ruby actually picked up the extra health potions. Other than that, they just laid wasted on the ground. The allies just kind of walked by them. And I mean, I know they probably didn't mean to, but because it's such a new mechanic, it's just not in everyone's head that, you know, you kind of need to stop to get the full benefit of this ability. Don't mind me. Just doing fun stuff. We gotta dodge these chains, though. Easy. Neprab. Nova at the top of the screen, though. Wasn't quite ready for that. I think I'm gonna be fine. That's the real Nova, right? Now the real Nova's rooted, baby girl! Oh, I could have saved Li Ming there. I could have saved her 100%. So, in my experience, we're a whole fucking Palantir behind now. In my experience, at level 4, the shield gives the most inherent value. Because if your allies are smart enough to walk over your potions anyway, they're simply going to get more shielding from that interaction. And if they're not smart enough to walk over your potions, well, then congratulations. That talent is just as useful as your Q ability as it is already, like without any talents. Your team's ability to notice what you're doing on Deckard Cain is so goddamn important and so different from every other healer except for maybe Alex Straza, right? With her W ability on the ground. So as we're pushing in here, I'm just going to continue to reinforce this area. And whoa! What is that? What is that? Uh-oh. We'll just throw the Lornado out just in case they decide to engage against me. Leeming walking into the combo damage of Chromie there. I don't even remember what that ult is called. What is this called? Raid of Destruction. Jeez. Thank you, Quick Match. You always find a way to keep it interesting. The mana return on the Rejuvenation Potion does definitely help Deckard Cain sustain his own healing potion usage. It definitely helps. I'm going to try to reduce their damage really quick and body block any potential skill shots from the Nova, but I can't do it anymore. She's going to be taken down. Probably. Oh! Lornado! Good job, Valera. Good job. She chased so hard for that shit. Leeming up here fighting at the top of the screen. Let's give her a little bit of love as well. So you can have 5 potions out at any given time. But having 5 potions out, if your team is all over the place and super mobile like this, really doesn't benefit you at all. In situations like this, I usually find myself doing like spot healing. So Ghoulish Daniel doesn't have a shield. Now he does. I know we're not going to be fighting here. So I'm going to be walking around and just trying to mitigate as much damage as I can. Another thing about the potion is you need to be careful where you place it on maps like the Infernal Shrines. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the base since we have the warning of this objective happening soon. Cheers, boys. That's not my fault. On Infernal Shrines, right? So look at our potion. Our potion heals for 368 at level 12, which is a lot. And you can have 5 of these down at one time. So when your team is rallying behind an objective, that is a really, really powerful boon to your team's defenses. What I found, though, is if there's easy sources of damage that could afflict your allies, for instance, things like monsters on Infernal Shrines, or I don't know, that's just kind of where I was going with that. Something where they take an extremely small amount of damage. What you would normally consider an insignificant amount of damage. Your Daily Screen Freeze brought to you by Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard Entertainment, and the NVIDIA Corporation. Now, normally that small little insignificant amount of damage is not something that healers would ever worry about when they're thinking about keeping their allies alive. It is something that is, it just accumulates over time. And when they actually take enough damage that you have to pay attention to it, well, that's when you go in and you hit them with a Holy Light, or you spread the pox to them if you're playing Stukov or something. What I have found personally is that allies will walk over the potions on Infernal Shrines. Again, I keep using this as the example, but it happens with other things too. Without noticing they're doing it, or because I positioned them a little too aggressively. And what'll happen then is that, my mana cost doesn't change based on healing, right? So instead of this healing for 383 health, it's going to heal for 4. It's going to heal for 7. It's going to heal for a completely insignificant amount of health that player could have easily just regened if they walked out of combat for a second. But instead, they walked on top of the healing potion. So it kind of wasted it in application. I really think there's only one talent worth picking up at level... Oh, hold on, boys. We're going to go ahead and use the Lornado to push these guys out of position. I'm going to try to gather my own potions here to keep myself alive, but continue to throw out potions for my allies to keep them healthy as well. So far, it looks like that's going pretty good. We do see Chromie for the enemy team pushing out of the bottom here. Let's go ahead and try to land some roots in this area. We do! Land? I got credit. I got credit for my quest, but not credit for rooting them. Get out of here. This simply reduces the damage that the enemy team deals every time you land your W ability. Like, it's good. It's hard to pass that up. Let's go join our team up top. Now, my heroic ability choices, I was on board with Stay a While and Listen. I thought Stay a While and Listen would be really, really good. But Stay a While and Listen has a lot of fundamental problems that I think make it simply not as good as... I'm fine, right? Do this. Oh, he didn't push in? Well, then I can go rejoin my team. Yeah, I'm fine. Tornado, by the way, has a 45-second cooldown, so kind of just use it all the time if you feel like you're going to need it. Let's put this potion down here, let it grow into a bigger one, and then I can heal myself up for a lot more HP with our potion, super healing potion at level 13. We'll get there soon, don't worry, team. So Stay a While and Listen, what I often found was it was being interrupted by things that I wasn't expecting it to be interrupted by. Things like Nazebo spiders. So you don't really see the spiders if you're on the team of Nazebo. They're just kind of going out there. They're just kind of doing their own thing. They deal a lot of damage. He should be using his spiders, right? They're really good. But often what I find what would happen was those spiders would interrupt one of... Uh-oh. That was a bad teleport, I think. Those spiders would interrupt my ultimate. Or psychologically, when your team sees that you've cast Stay a While and Listen, oftentimes what I was finding was, even if I was using it in a defensive position, my team would think it's a re-engage opportunity. So even if we're running away from an enemy team, my team kind of gets set up to just go back in. Which in most cases, if you're not prepared with potions in an area, will get your team killed more often than not. Whereas Lornado, 45-second cooldown, just kind of use it all the time, move people around, disrupt stuff in team fights. It can interrupt channeled abilities just like Stay a While and Listen. Oh, another thing with Stay a While and Listen is maybe it's because it's new, and a lot of this stuff I'm talking about maybe because Deckard Cain is new. But I found my allies just kind of splitting off and attacking everybody, right? There was no target priority. And that may be an issue with me not using voice chat, because I don't, especially when we're streaming and doing videos and stuff. But that might be an issue with that. But Lornado doesn't do any damage, but it does enable so much stuff. So if you find yourself in a position where you can push someone up against a wall, it can be devastating. So for instance, like this, I missed by a little bit because I didn't react in time. I don't know, something may be slowing down my reactions. But if you're able to pin someone up against a wall, they basically get perma-stunned, very similar to the Wandering Keg. Oh, beautiful. Oh my god. Untouchable. You're the best. She's waiting for my potions to grow! She knows! Let's try to scare him out of there. The objective is up. I don't think we care. What the fuck was I saying? Stuns people like the Wandering Keg. So I've found many situations where I can completely shut down a single character, make it so they can't even use their movement abilities to evade something because they're just getting hit by mini-stun. Level 13, I think the Potion of Revival is good, but it does require your team to group up a little bit too much. Which, again, we're kind of trying to avoid those frustrations of enemy players not doing what you want with this build. So the super healing potion just gets bigger over time. If they don't get the benefit of the talent, they still get the benefit of the base ability, which I think is important. Here, there you go. There you go. Because that's not the real one, right? Okay, let's try to root these guys over here. We need to get close to one of our allies so we're actually getting our cooldown reduction, and then try to litter an area with some potions. Our team's kind of splitting off doing some stuff. So I'm not trying to put these potions down for Phoenix to use right now. I'm trying to put these potions down for Phoenix to use in the future. Right? Does that make sense? But, you know, people just kind of take it. We can keep our eyes on this. We can use the Lornado to move these guys out of position, and we have a ton of healing to actually keep us in this area. The longer they let us stay here, the longer they let us reinforce, the more healing we have. So if Valera's taking a little bit too much damage, she can come back to this. There's a potion for her. There's a potion for her. I usually have a much easier time landing my roots than what you're seeing right now. Usually that is a quest that I complete really, really early on. Today it's not quite happening so much. I'm trying to stay close enough to my allies to get the cooldown reduction. Let's go ahead and use the Lornado to push these guys out. Did not work out for me, boys. The Octograb is going to lock me down. He maybe he's a little late to the party here. Oh, the pop! Ah! Beautiful. Beautiful. I still think we're going to lose the majority of our team here. Never mind. Leave me cleaning up. Holy shit. Probably time to leave, though, with the chromie. Oh, we're still healing, though, boys. We're still healing. You see that shit? You see that Deckard Cain value? Come on, you can do it. There you go. Good job, man. That's a Li Ming pentakill. Damn. There's another potion over here if she needs it. Probably shouldn't ping danger. I should probably... There's no good ping for that. Assist me? Defend? Huh? I don't know. I really think about that. At level 16, I like all of these talents. I really do. Scroll of the Stone Curse is what I'm going for in this particular game. Obviously not getting any value out of it because I'm not really landing my roots at all. But if you land this on 2 heroes, it deals a buttload more damage than it would otherwise. Just makes the ability better than it was earlier, right? It's a good thing. I do like safety in numbers, but because it requires so many of your allies to be in this small of an area, 3 allies in that area, I can barely keep 1 ally in quick match in that area. So, to me, in most situations, that's not going to be something I pick up, even though it is incredibly strong if your allies are working with you. At level 20, we're going to go for the Bottomless Flask. Now, if we decide to defend this location, each of these potions will pop once more. So we can use these potions, and then immediately, after 2 seconds, that's not immediately, but you get what I'm saying, they'll start to come back. So this potion is going to refill. It's more than 2 seconds. It's 5 seconds. But then after 2 seconds, it pops back up to being one of those giant healing potions. So, if your teams use them right away, then they have unlimited healing in this area every 5 seconds. If they don't use them right away, then if they take a bunch of damage like I just did, they can walk back and get even more healing because of the super healing potions. It's a really, really strong synergy in his talents that I really like. I do like the Herodic Staff at level 16. I just wanted to say something about these talents before the game is over. The Herodic Staff allows you to deal with people a little bit easier that may be diving after Deckard Cain. Allows you... Let's go ahead and just Lornado her here, which could interrupt more of her combo if I was using it earlier. You'll see as I was going for that healing, our Gul'dan, who's missing 0 HP, right? He's not missing shit, but he's still picking up all these potions. Normally would be a really big problem for us, but because of the bottomless potions, because we're so sieged in here, and those potions are going to be popping right back up, it is going to be no problem. I'll just walk over to another one. I'll gain the healing from that, and then we'll be just fine. I normally don't do this style of video where I go in at each talent tier and tell you what I've learned and tell you what I like and tell you what's been working for me, because normally I don't play heroes that much that when they first come out, you know, I'll play them day 1, day 2, then a month later when I want to make another video for them. So let me know if you guys are into this. You know, this is the inside of a diamond player. Could be better, could be a lot worse. We ended up getting 40% of our team's damage healed, so that's quite a substantial amount of healing with this particular build. The shields from our early talents really go a long way with that. We want to take a look at our stats. We healed for 83,000 compared to the 36,000 of the enemy team's Charism. That seems extremely low, though. So that's a damage Charism that went for a Divine Palm. That makes sense. So that's my full talent build recommendation with a pretty, what I think is in-depth look at it. Maybe I was mumbly, because, you know, it's one of those nights. But the team played really well. Again, there are so many little mechanics of Deckard Cain that make it so if your team is playing well, you're going to benefit so much more than if your team is just kind of not really paying attention. So your success will vary on a match-by-match basis, more so than what I think most other supports actually deal with. Which I think supporting is like a crapshoot when you go into quick match, but it's going to be even worse with Deckard Cain, so just be prepared for it. We did go for the Scroll of Identify. We did not finish this quest. The enemy team was full of casters, and they spread out quite a bit. My accuracy wasn't quite what it could have been, but we did get a ton of value out of the Potion of Shielding. Knife's Cube, reducing the damage of the enemy team by 30%, was really, really good. We also saw the Lornado disrupt a little, maybe you saw a little bit of the potential. So what I could have done there is whenever we catch someone in a corner, push them into that corner so they can't do anything. They can't leave and our team can just surround them. Or if we're chasing after someone, I can push them back in front of the enemy team. Another use for it was when we saw Chromie winding up with her temporal loop. We could immediately drop the Lornado to push Chromie back so she couldn't actually combo off her ultimate ability. These are things I'll get better with time, but things that you should be looking out for as a Deckard Cain player. Super Healing Potion, I think, is phenomenal. Scroll of the Stone Curse, I think, is really good. I didn't use it much when I was streaming, but upon reflection, I think it's really good. But again, because I was getting so little value out of the Scroll of Identify, we got basically no value out of this ability as well. But I think all of the talents at level 16 have their place. And the Bottomless Flask, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic ability. The only way I would tell you not to pick that up is if you get perfect gems with Ruby and people learn how to use Ruby, or with Sapphire and you can just keep people super crowd controlled all the time. I don't want to say that Emerald isn't worth picking up, because I do think that it is. It's just that Emerald has a much more focused use compared to the other abilities, and you're going to need the appropriate enemy team comp to justify this talent choice. Whereas Knife's Cube always gets value. The enemy team dealing 30% less damage is a good thing for the enemy team to be doing. Cube Mastery is good as well, if the enemy team's grouping up a little bit too much, but I do think it's the weakest out of the three. So again, let me know if you like this style of video where I go super in depth with what I've learned over the past few days. I've never done it before. I think Deckard Cain is really, really fun and can be impactful if the team knows what to look for. My first few games playing him, I felt like I was useless, and it really sucked. I really didn't like it at all. But that wasn't a reflection of the character as much as it was the reflection of my team's ability to play with the character. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.